Hello, everybody. So this is something interesting that I didn't even notice until after I did the first video of Alone in the Dark. There is a newspaper downloadable, which I'm guessing this came in the old DOS game when you bought it. Uh, but yeah, so I downloaded this, and I'm pretty sure it's like backstory lore. Pretty sure it's just all backstory lore in the form of a old newspaper of some kind. The Mystery Examiner, 5-cent special issue, August 25th, 1924. Tragedy in Louisiana. The Louisiana police returned with a verdict of suicide. So I'm guessing this is all backstory. Might even give me hints on what the hell's going on. I guess I'll make this an episode 0, since I won't be doing the game itself. So this will just be like an episode 0, I guess. So I won't be talking about anything that happened the last time I played the game. And we'll just be reading this 8-page newspaper article, ads included, I guess. When Tragedy Strikes, by William J. Herbert, editor of the Mystery Examiner. It is with heavy hearts that we announce the death of Jeremy Hartwood. Our readers will never forget his outstanding talent, first revealed in the columns of this newspaper. The son of a respected Arkham family, Jeremy's interest in the arts was encouraged by numerous fine teachers. He himself spoke often of Pickman, who introduced Jeremy to the wonders of painting. Hartwood's very first sketch for this newspaper is still famous. Our extensive investigations into the Isthmus affair fired the imagination of our youngest staff member. The boldness of his draftsmanship, coupled with the uncompromising vigor of his palette, shed a chilling light on the sinister tragedy that befell that unhappy New England town. Our paths separated, and yet each time the balmy Louisiana breeze carried him home, he never omitted to drop by to sniff the final proof, as he invariably put it. He knew the welcome would always be friendly and heartfelt. We won't forget Jeremy Hartwood, an artist whose talent filled so many of us with wonders. To have been a friend to such a man is a source of pride. His memory will forever be in my heart. The Pain of Solitude, by Harold McGruder, our special correspondent. Pale shafts of dawn sunlight draw the rope shadows grotesquely on the wooden floor. Somber wings of death flapped raven-like in this lonely loft, and a man ended his troubled days. Jeremy Hartwood is no more. A tipped-over stool, a makeshift knot. For local police chief Drake, the death was clearly a suicide. Everything points to it. There is no evidence of a struggle. It is an open and shut case. And yet, for the amateur detective, a species not unknown among our esteemed readership, several questions are unanswered, and foul play remains a possibility. Allow me to shed the light of reason on these shadows of doubt. While Mr. Hartwood appears not to have left a suicide note, not at all unusual in cases of suicide, contrary to popular belief, those closest to the deceased described him as being sickened of life, disillusioned with an existence that seemed void of meaning. According to his trusted butler, he was a broken man since the death of his poor father. He tried to overcome his grief by intensive study, but was haunted by visions of horror. Readers may care to read Frank Thorndike's fascinating article on the subject of those visions. Living in the secluded confines of his immense house, Dorsetto, Jeremy Hartwood's life gradually turned into a nightmare. I myself managed to lose my way in Dorsetto's shadowy corridors, and for several minutes experienced some of the fear that Hartwood lived with day after day. It is surprising that a man whose nerves had already been sorely tested and who spent all his time in so oppressive an atmosphere should have turned to what surely seemed the only way out of an intolerable life. And there was light! The Lux oil lamp is truly miraculous, completely shock-resistant thanks to its handsome copper oil tank. The Lux Wonder Lamp can be cleaned in a jiffy. Its extra-long wick and unbreakable glass guarantee many hours of trouble-free light. You'll be proud to show it off in your home. It's completely smell-free and built to last more than a lifetime. Why, your grandchildren will still be using the amazing Lux Wonder Lamp. Order one now. Tell your friends about the Lux Wonder Lamp. Please send me a Lux Wonder Lamp at the amazing price of $4.25. Don't forget to include a completely free supply of smell-free lamp oil, a value of $1.25, which will ensure hours of agreeable light. Lux catalog on request. Satisfied, or we take it back. I want Lux lamps. Send to Mr. and Mrs. Sure. Paint and Canvas. A.W. Limerick's Chronicle. Although indeed one is tempted to say because Jeremy Hartwood's talents was first discovered and nurtured by those whom Shelley termed the aristocracy of taste, it is to be feared that his force of inimitable technique are fated to wait in the antechamber of culture's Hall of Fame for some years to come. The mastery that marks even his earliest work is not, alas, sufficient to overcome the handicap inherent in his chosen, some readers may find the term ill-chosen in the view of the evidently obsessive nature of the Hartwood's au revoir, area of interest. The artist's attraction to the domain of the supernatural, while not without precedent, renders him unpalatable to many. His taste for the macabre exerts demand. Fuck. I can't read. I'm fucking 4 years into my university and I can't fucking read. Macabre exerts demands that only the strongest stomachs can meet. His exhibition at Boston Russell's Hall last fall provoked distinct murmurs among even his most ardent admirers. Allow me to remind you of the titles of some of the paintings. Howling at the Moon, The Final Sabbath, In the Abyss of the Unspeakable. A conversation with Hartwood afforded me some insight into the artist's perceptions. If the human mind were to learn of certain concepts common to a number of forgotten religions, it would certainly seek refuge in madness. There are things we should never know. How can one look upon his work without experiencing a certain malice? This feeling of unease was only compounded by Hartwood's next utterance. My subject matter comes from my dreams, and yet I am convinced that such beings have always existed and will always exist. You may remember that the exhibition, scheduled to run for 3 weeks, was cancelled after a mere 48 hours. My esteemed colleague, McGregor, assures me that Deserto, Hartwood's home, contains paintings that are even more disquieting. From France, The Gift of a Smooth Skin. Howard Phillips Lovecraft, a biography of a master of fantasy literature. Born on June 12, 1889 in Providence, Rhode Island, Howard Phillips Lovecraft was a gifted and highly imaginative child. He was fascinated by the mysteries of the night sky and stories such as 1001 Nights. He wrote his first story, The Little Glass Bottle, when he was 6, 4 years after the death of his father. Lovecraft attended school episodically. Being of delicate health, working on his own, he was a keen student of chemistry and astronomy. He began writing poetry and publishing scientific magazines. The death of his parental grandfather plunged the family into serious financial problems, a situation from which Lovecraft was to suffer all his life. Living almost as a recluse from 1909 to 1913, he wrote poems, articles, and short stories for a number of small circulation magazines. He continued to read miraculously during this period. It was in 1919 that he wrote one of his best-known stories, Beyond the Walls of Sleep, which proved to be a milestone in the evolution of his own work and opened new horizons in the world of fantasy literature. From then on, HPL wrote a continuous stream of poetry, essays, and stories while keeping up a lively correspondence with many fellow writers and friends. During his lifetime, Lovecraft's fame in the United States never went beyond a restricted circle of admirers. No collection of his stories was published. This lack of success did not deter him, and he traveled to a number of states in search of a legendary America. Lovecraft married Sonia Green in 1924. Living in New York, he suffered a number of disappointments. Poor, unsuited to regular employment, and disgusted by life in New York, HPL realized that his marriage was a fiasco. The gentleman from Providence was a deeply unhappy man. Feeling lost in a century he despised, Lovecraft returned to Providence and devoted himself to reading, correspondence, and his beloved cats. The circle of admirers had never stopped growing. Among the more famous are George Louis Borges, J. Gregor, and Stephen King. His complete works are regularly republished thanks to the efforts of his friend August Derleth. A number of films have been inspired by his work. Herbert West, Reanimator, Dunwich Horror. Fantasy literature has been profoundly influenced by Lovecraft's vision, and he is often quoted alongside Poe as a precursor who explored fresh paths and invented a new style. A selection of Lovecraft's novels and short stories. The Case of Charles Dexter Ward, Beyond the Walls of Sleep, In the Vault, Herbert West, Reanimator, The Rats in the Walls, The Haunter of the Dark, The Shadow over Innsmouth, The Outsider, The Nameless City, Color Out of Space, Cool Air, Call of Cthulhu, Dunwich Horror, The Whisperer in Darkness, At the Mountains of Madness, Pickman's Model, and The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath. Mental Disorders by our science editor Frank Thorndike. The Tragic Case of Jeremy Hartwood. Each day sees further developments in the wonderful new science of psychoanalysis. The mind's mysteries will soon be laid bare before the blinding light of progress. In my position as science chronicler of this newspaper, I thought it would prove educationally uplifting to prevail upon Professor Zempf, head of the neurology department at Boston's Frobisher Psychiatric Hospital, for a few thoughts on the tragic case of Jeremy Hartwood. Professor Zempf writes, "It is clear that an individual's taking of his own life is in many cases a source of particular distress for family members and friends, not to mention a subject of conversation for others. It is as though the deceased, by committing such an act, has given expression to a hitherto unexpected madness. And yet the phenomenon is far from uncommon and is by no means restricted to individuals who might reasonably be termed insane. Suicide is more often than not the culmination of many distressing factors, compounded by what is subjectively perceived as an insurmountable obstacle to viable life. In the case in point, the father's death. Apparently well-balanced individuals are by no means immune from the temptation. It requires only a suitable series of circumstances. Close family members and friends are often quite unaware of the sufferer's growing sense of despair, or as scientific jargon would have it, a neurotic obsession. The Hartwood case presents no surprise. A highly strung artist, clearly given to hysteria, who willingly exuberated a naturally morbid tendency. As to the particular circumstances that finally forced Mr. Hartwood into taking the final and fateful step, one may never learn the answers. Frigate to Starboard, The Last Voyage of the Vulture, Episode 1. We would like to pay tribute to the Hartwood family by publishing in serial form the novel by Jeremy Hartwood's father, Howard, known to amateurs of adventure stories as Captain Trevis. It was the time of year when balmy island breezes give way to the lively fuego, a south wind that fills out sails and sends ships flying through the foaming swell. Following close to, the Vulture sailed under her fearsome commander, Scarface Jordan. "Frigate to starboard!" cried Cutthroat, quick from the crow's nest. "We'll have 'em!" chuckled Jordan. He rubbed his calloused hand, already counting the pieces of 8 and imagining the rum he would soon be swigging. He trained his spyglass on the prey. Jordan's Hungary grin froze, then became a dreadful mask of terror. "Dear God Almighty!" he gasped. "It's in Malavos, lads!" "What?" "Break out whatever the masts take. That's Preggets over there, and I smell death in the air. If he overhauls us, then we're shark meat. For none can fight the demon. The first cannonball struck the vulture's hull. To be continued. this fucking text box. A happy event. All our staff would like to express our congratulations to the birth of baby Benjamin, born on August 20th. At 7 pounds, he's already quite a handful. He and his overjoyed parents are doing fine. Granada. I didn't kill him. All talking thriller. I can't. Paramount's all talking thriller. The studio murder mystery. More baffling than the Canary murder case. I can't read the rest of that. Directed by all of these people. Mixed best boys. Oh, I think this is just desktop publishing. Yeah, I think this is just the credits, I think. Yeah, 3D modeling, it's definitely probably the credits. Definitely probably. Stop, thief! You're right, it has to stop, and you can do something about it. Use Big Iron Steel's company's Bull Gun Special for a free 15-day trial period. This brand new model has already won many gold medals. Villain Convention 1919, Baltimore Ballistics Congress. The Bull Gun Special is a double-loaded .38 Magnum, the only gun that can penetrate 7 bricks at 10 paces. Numerous satisfied customers has written to express their satisfaction. Mr. M of Ohio writes, "Without my bull gun, I'd be a dead man today. We at Big Iron Steel have a watchword to live by. Fight crime! For every bull gun special you purchase at $9.95, we'll send you absolutely free of charge a magnificent color catalog. Order your gun now, and why not a handsome calfskin holster? Only $1.35, and a handy cleaning kit, $1.35 as well. You'll need some bullets too, $1.35 per box of 25. Pay in 15 days only if fully satisfied. Hoodlums run for their lives when they see a bull gun. Write to Big Iron Steel, 455 Republic Road, Pittsburgh. Pantages, showplace of the world. Jack Sylvia, a gorgeous gowned mile-a-minute review. Mac and Stilton, a mob of laughs and comedy panic? A Phonograph Girl, a Dolly Kay, America's greatest blues singer. Mary Ann Wells, dancers? Youth, Beauty, and Grace. Harris and Wallace, a Hokum classic? I can't read that. Toronto Sisters, whatever the hell below that. Monty Blue and Maria, that's illegible. That's Prevost? Other women's husbands? This is ridiculous. So it looks like the shadow is like something different other than the woman, but I can't tell what it's supposed to be. Where happiness awaits you from noon to midnight. I'm guessing to midnight? Fucking, I don't know. Okay. I mean, it is definitely backstory. This is a little interesting piece of, like, paper media that probably came with the game. I'm glad I read it, but I don't think it showed me anything. At least nothing that I could have gleaned from the actual game itself. Which, you know, is probably a good thing. It's probably a good thing that you can glean what the hell's going on in the game without outside media. So yeah, you know. Interesting little read. I guess I'll make this like part 0 or some shit like that. But yeah, that's just gonna be it. I don't have time to actually get into Alone in the Dark today because I have a bunch of school projects that I need to get to work on. But if you enjoyed this, thank you all for watching, especially if you got this far, and stick around because the game is coming up.